Okay, you want to see how we spent well over $500,000 in a 4-month span? Got 315 signed cases at a $1,600 signed case cost per lead for one of the largest personal injury law firms in the U.S. Well, there's a number of steps that we used here, which we're going to go through in this video. But this was the customer, one of the largest personal injury law firms in the U.S., based in Michigan. Super great personal injury law firm. You might have actually seen some of his ads in the Super Bowl. They've won over $1 billion for their clients. They do a fabulous job. And how did we actually do that? Like, that's a pretty big claim to be able to get 315 signed cases. These are not leads. These are not calls. These are actually signed cases. Well, the first thing that we had to do is we had to diagnose what their issues were. And this is the first step that we do for every customer of ours, especially in the personal injury law space. And everyone is slightly different. So in this particular case, they really didn't have any idea as to who their avatar was. And that was really the big problem. They had, what we found is that there were two distinct avatars. One for Google search, somebody who had just been in a personal injury law accident, or personal injury accident. In this case, car accidents is what we're really targeting, not workman's comp, not slip and fall cases, but car accident cases that are significant, and it could be worth millions of dollars to the recipients. And obviously the personal injury law firm takes a percentage of that, based upon a fee structure that's incentive based and performance based. But they didn't identify who that avatar was. So the clear thing that we did is we identified two avatars, one for Google and then one for Meta or Facebook, two very distinct avatars, which really did work together. The platforms really did work well together. They were also running a lot of Google ads, and although the cost per click was actually fairly low here, they were spending about $1 million or so per year in Google ads. They just had no idea if they were working, which is a real problem with a lot of people these days, because some of the tracking inside Google is not super easy to set up. And they had spent this, over the course of the last year or so, and really had some issues with it. So throwing money at a platform, not really knowing what works and what doesn't work, is not a real formula for success. They're really struggling with that. We immediately installed tracking all the way through for every event, which is once they click on an ad, they make a phone call to the law firm, and then they become a lead, and then they're actually assigned a team that figures out whether or not it's a worthwhile case. And then that might take, 2 to 3 to 4 weeks to figure out whether or not it's a signed case. So we needed to use a 90-day conversion window, which was super important, as well as offline conversions, which most law firms don't use. So they end up optimizing for leads and calls, but that doesn't really matter. That just gets them a lot of spam leads, a lot of really crappy leads that don't amount to anything. When in fact, this case, we were optimizing for what matters most, which is signed cases that could turn into settlements for their clients. So that was super important. So that's one of the first things that we did. Now, they're just running Google ads, which is fine. And I think a lot of personal injury law firms do a really good job of doing this bidding on keywords, but oftentimes they're not really doing it in the right way. They don't use the social channels together. So our background is in social media ads, and started off as a Google pay-per-click agency. But what we realized is that they were missing out on this entire avatar, this entire group of people who had been in a car accident and maybe had not called right then and there when it was really urgent, and had thought about the case, and maybe were in pain, maybe were in the hospital, maybe had sustained some sort of injury, and it's maybe months later. And so they were thinking about it, but those people are not typically actively searching on Google search. So we found those people on the Meta platforms. They had tried this before and they realized, well, Meta and Facebook just really don't work for us, which is typical of a lot of businesses. But they also had no tracking in place to really differentiate between an ad that came from the Meta platforms or Facebook platforms and those that came from Google search. And they weren't really leveraging really good copy or creative sort of standard kind of personal injury law ads that just didn't really resonate with the market, and the messaging was sort of all off. So that was the next thing that we did. We realized that there was a synergy that could happen here with Google and Meta together that could really take their business to the next level. The next thing that we looked at is we looked at their landing pages, and this is their desktop page, and you can see it's sort of broken into 4 different sections. Actually, in this image, is actually you only see 3 sections, but it's confusing. There was 5 different fonts, I believe, on the page. Just the eye really didn't know where to go, and the form you can see on the right-hand side, it was a simple form, so they were catching a lot of spam leads, which is really a problem on Google right now because click farms are a real issue. So they didn't have a description. They didn't have a way in which to weed out some of those crappy leads that just click, that just click on your ad and then fill out a form. It doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to have a simple form fill. So what we needed to do is we needed to put in some more structure within the landing page itself, both on desktop and also on mobile. And you can see here on the mobile page, people needed to scroll 3 to 5 thumb scrolls. And that's a problem. You can't get to the call to action or the action that you want people to take if you're asking them to do too much. You don't want people burning calories trying to figure out a way in which to contact you as a personal injury lawyer. And you can see on the top, there was no phone number. It was just this call now button. So people really need a visual, a phone number that then activates, the phone number on your phone. Like if you've seen that sort of thing, like you click a number and then it pops up and then you click it again. And so that was the problem. They didn't actually have the phone number really on the page. They just had this call now button. So those are some of the big things that really were standing in their way of success, which we diagnosed. And that was kind of the first step. And then we started to implement all of those individual things with avatars, with blending Google and Facebook traffic together, as well as figuring out who their avatar really was to get these types of results, which is their cost per acquisition. Their goal was $4,000 and we got it to $1,600. And the most important thing is 315 signed cases, many of which will turn into $1 million cases for this law firm. And obviously it's a very, very profitable campaign when you're spending $500,000 and you're making millions, potentially on the back end in settlements and doing the right thing for your clients. So if this is something that you're interested in having us do, definitely head on over to tier11.com, fill out the form. We'd be happy to talk to you if you're a personal injury lawyer, or just subscribe to this channel here and get more helpful, useful videos on how to get signed cases for your personal injury law practice and to scale and grow your business through customer acquisition. Talk to you in the next video.